Yeah, good morning, everybody. It's really good to see everybody here in person. Hope everyone's ready for a day of great conversation, debate, and insights. I'd just like to thank Exito for organising today and inviting me to step in this morning. And of course, the private office of His Highness Sheikh Ahmed bin Faisal Al Kazimi for his patronage of today's event. For those of you who I've yet to meet, I'm Neale Foy, and I'm the CTO for digital banking at Apex Group, one of the world's largest fund administration organisations. I've been with Apex in the UAE for just under 18 months. And in that short time, we've seemingly achieved the impossible by designing, partnering, integrating and deploying a full digital bank onboarding and banking solution for complex corporate customers within the confines of an established and very traditional boutique bank. So yes, I'm a seasoned banker, but more importantly, I'm a digital technologist and genuinely believe that the principles I've learned can be viewed as business agnostic when it comes to digital transformation. If these principles can work for a highly regulated sector, then they should be applicable to almost any business wanting to modernise their approach. So I hope that by talking to you today brings some value and gets you focusing and taking the right paths on your digital transformation journey. As some of my more enlightened of my mentors have told me, life is about the journey, not destination. And I think this can very well be applied to how we approach digital transformation because it is perhaps the biggest transformation a traditional organisation can take and adopts continuous improvement at its heart. And as we mentioned earlier, technologies are continually evolving. This is a long, long game. Something that will touch every function, every person, and potentially every product in some way forever. This isn't just another project, this is changing your operation at its core. So whether through digital sales and front ends, operational efficiencies and working methods, communication and engagement, or controls, oversight and decision making, ultimately it's about mindset and understanding that end state targets should not be cast in stone, change should not be feared, and continual improvement should be embraced. By making a fundamental shift in foundation level principles, change can come faster than you think. We will look at this through a number of lenses, as mentioned: alignment, transitioning, overcoming resistance, and measuring success. But let's start with what is really motivating us. The reality is that business models and opportunities are evolving at a pace faster than perhaps we have ever seen before, and there is little sign it will get any slower. As the boundary between traditional physical lives and the digital lives become more and more connected, it's hard not to see that the parallels are closer than at first sight. So let's consider what the current landscape is for your journey. If there is anything that the last 24 months has shown us, is that whatever efforts have been made in the past, these have now upshifted to one of much more aggressive survival. The pandemic has contributed to change in consumer behaviour to the extent that the level of expectation is now so much higher, it's almost become a right. Anyone failing that will be unlikely to get a second look unless they have an exceptionally strong or unique product offering or customer base. A direct impact of this demand is also the speed with which organisations are expected to respond to changing and demanding and trends. This is only possible if an organisation's digital strategy is set up to deliver fast at its core. Readily available communication platforms with exceptional reach and engagement and advances in the technology we all take for granted have shifted the power from businesses to the consumer and customer. Open access to widely available information has empowered consumers to so much that they are demanding more on a daily basis. They know what good looks like and they know what it feels like. They know when something does not feel or behave right, and they can very easily check and challenge. They are savvy. And that mindset and ability is just going to grow and grow with the generations. Customer loyalty and managing their perceptions is now more important than ever, along with reading the market and aligning to fundamental shifts in value and causes. Digital is not just about ease of navigating a web page, though, or using an app or any of the other connected technologies. This is about a level of service and simplicity beyond the point of acquisition or engagement, what happens after and how quickly. Customer experience extends way beyond an app. huge frustrations arise when being forced to interact with a bad AI, chatbot, call center, or messaging system and something goes wrong. Even cumbersome returns processes, be that physical goods or commercial refunds. And this is the critical aspect of digital culture. Digital represents so much more than ones and zeros. It is a series of expectations, and they generally have been created by leading digital organizations and platforms, hence where we come up with this term. We need to be constantly looking at multiple metrics and review forums to gauge customer satisfaction and acting on that validated feedback aligned with our own data gathering. We are entering the phase of the minimum lovable product, in my opinion, and whilst an MVP is vital for the first stage of any digital solution, the quality still has to be high enough to bring delight to a user. There is no space for mediocrity in digital, and we have to walk the walk with what's delivered. So how do we create a business that people love? Well, in order to stand a chance, you first of all have to be aligned. So this has to be the biggest and most critical aspect of any digital transformation exercise. This will make or break any efforts. As Peter Drucker said, culture eats strategy for breakfast, and that's probably become truer now than at any point. Getting your priorities straight and creating the right environment is absolutely critical. It's essential to find the right collaboration. In delivering digital solutions, you need to work with true believers and visionaries within the organization to build on that momentum. Root focus needs to be about how you leverage the staff you have that already get the agenda and are enthused by it, and complementing them with fast-scaling digital consultancies, agencies, and partners to ramp up quickly, and balancing that with making key hires with the skill sets and mindset that may not be inherent in the company structure as it currently exists. The huge adoption rates in the marketplace show that people get digital, and we are open to its possibilities and benefits. So if an organization is struggling, then it would suggest to me that supporting culture and organizational mindset needs adjustment. Digital culture needs participation of employees from all levels because they're already living digital lives as private individuals. Shadow boards can be a great way to tap into the knowledge that existing staff who are already digitally native. All the graduates you hire, they've had a mobile phone in their hand since before they probably could walk. They can provide great insights, and they're already on the payroll, so leverage them. But culture is more than just about creating an innovation lead and hiring some new staff. Injection of the right blood can certainly bring some of that culture with it. But without them being allowed to operate in a way that they will have in a truly digital organization, they will be stuck. It's amazing how in some cases it can be tiny things that eat away at the day's productivity and that can create real efficiencies and ability to move forward. Removing the sort of inherent blockers, policy restrictions and bottlenecks that continuously impact and reduce the efficiency of change can yield large benefits. We need controlled but trusted thinking here. Ability to share and receive large files, for example, might seem like a small thing. But in today's big data and UX design-driven world, ability to easily communicate at every level is vital. File sizes have become much, much larger than we're traditionally used to, and outdated IT policies and email systems can't always cope. And this throttles efficiency in which we can work. So, these might sound like a small thing, but it can make a really big difference to how quickly you can evolve your organization. So use of collaborative tooling to organize, track, and manage work, such as Asana, SharePoint, even Confluence wikis, Dropbox. These can all make huge impacts on the way we work and the way we process organizations. So making this content and these artifacts accessible to external partners who we would need to team up with to scale fast is also really important. There has to be trust here, and it can make a huge difference when working with agencies and consulting teams. Creating a strong and common culture needs to be driven from the top. We have to set high-level direction, but give autonomy to our teams empowered by supportive policies and collaborative tooling. Removing silos between departments and creation of cross-functional roles all play key parts in the exec playbook. We need to communicate constantly with our employees and set the vision and motivate and help our teams in seeing the big picture. Our companies need to stop being a series of competing departments and work towards a common goal. This can only come from strong top-down leadership and without conflicting targets and agendas. There has to be a common and joined-up goal with all functions working towards that. Leaders have to encourage ideation, originality, and creativity, but not be scared to take risks and aim for the highest level of digital quotient. Senior management's role needs to be as much about empowering their teams and clearing the path for them to do their job as it is to steer the ship. And again, this sometimes comes down to areas that are traditionally at odds with agility, including financial budgeting. Now, beyond budgeting is an idea of abolishing traditional budgeting processes to eventually improve management control over an organization. And it might sound counterintuitive, and it's a big topic. I won't steal Bjart's thunder on this, but I thoroughly recommend checking it out because it was a real missing piece for me when I discovered this several years ago. So anyway, I think now it's about time we start thinking about how we transition. So the key to delivering faster market innovations is in establishing excellent in-house capabilities along with partnerships, in my view. And that allows us to build and deploy new features and contents quickly. This all has to be based on the right foundations, however. And as critical as culture and operational mindset are, you still need the right technology and approach. The right technology strategy will help underpin your success, not only to securely process, store, and exchange data needed to meet customer expectations and demands, but also to leverage that data, which is the new lifeblood of modern organizations. So when we talk digital technology, most common in people's minds is a shiny front end with some sweet UX, and absolutely, this is your connection point to the world. It needs to be clear and effective and professional and easily updated. But empowerment of that data available from those interfaces can only really come from the back end. And this is where real lift in digital transformation needs to happen for full capabilities. This is where we need to appreciate the radical changes that give rise to the power of digital platforms. And it comes down to two things: cloud infrastructure and APIs. Now, the Amazon we know today was built on both. And AWS is one of the largest providers of cloud services in the world, along with Microsoft and Google. Now, there's lots of other fascinating technology out there we hear about every day. And, you know, they all have a place. Some are more mature than others, and some use cases are still being proven. Blockchain, smart contracts, AI, ML, RPA, to name a few. But if there's two things that bind everything, it's the ease of scaling and cost efficiencies through cloud, and the ease of integration and composability through APIs. It was through architecting and deploying an entire solution based on these principles, and IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS product offerings, that we were able to build and secure a scalable and composable banking solution in under 18 months. And by building a team as a series of dedicated interoperable squads comprised of in-house and specialist consultants, most of the back-end work was done in under 9 months, using a staff of no more than 20 people. So I can say firsthand that this is fully achievable. The journey has just started for us, and the path is looking really promising. There are two fundamental ways of introducing digital transformation in existing organizations. One, you can evolve core functions and operational components via a clear roadmap towards one common goal. Or two, as we did, build an entirely new proposition front to back as a standalone division, then launch, commence migration, and scale up. Now, that comes with its own set of challenges, but what it does get around is having to manage BAU activities with transformation at the start. It gets around old policies and restrictions. It allows for the right staff and technology to be used quickly and removes the need for drawn-out, excessive decision-making and analysis paralysis. With the right support, it gives room for the right culture to establish itself and prove itself. So, as with any new approaches, there are, of course, some risks, but this merely means adapting and evolving the right policies and controls to do the job. As a new ring-fence operation, however, you get the chance to ensure that they're fit for purpose. As an organization from any sector, the digital world requires the right controls. Use of external SaaS partners, whether that's for core banking or CRM, provides a massive opportunity to evolve quickly, but you have to understand your exit strategies. You have to do your homework on those partners, and you have to ensure that the contracts stand up to regulatory scrutiny, if required. And don't forget your hybrid backups. On a wider level, overall stability and failover risk must become more critical as 24/7 service operations become a reality. The recent Facebook outage goes to show that even the biggest companies are not infallible to these risks. Cybersecurity, data protection, and access to that data need to be strictly monitored and controlled. These are the realities of the world that we live in now, and we're part of the journey realities that you experience. So as we can see and would expect, a new way of business will yield a new set of challenges and risks, not only in the path of transformation, but as an operational digital enterprise. When it comes to transformation, resistance you will face on your journey, it will usually stem from a number of common areas. The first one, I think we're kind of over, but the comfort zone. Really, this was a challenge and resistance that tends to come from upper management, the exec, board, and owners. And I think for the most part we're beyond this, but I don't think it was that long ago that digital opportunity didn't seem that urgent. After all, many companies were still making huge profits based on traditional business models. But the change is coming fast from challenges, and the lack of action, even as little as 3 or 4 years ago, has probably meant exciting and profitable opportunities have now been missed or watered down. Internal politics can have a huge impact on progressing digital transformation agendas, especially with internal empires built over 20, 30-year careers can all of a sudden look quite fragile as new solutions or business models are launched. And whether driven by a desire to see out their career, to be seen to be trying to save the day, or perhaps even just a lack of knowledge or understanding, the blockers and resistances this can cause is very real and can create the kind of disruption that slows or stops progress. It's for this reason that ring fencing and launching a new division to help develop digital capabilities is such a powerful way to circumvent these risks. And by doing so, you reduce the potential impact of misaligned management can create with more traditionally run evolutionary transformation. So in talking of disruption, there's some big, powerful language out there these days, some inspiring, some scary, and some hugely overused and misunderstood. Unicorns, fail fast, agile. There can still be a huge disconnect that exists between digital people, tech people, and business people, and it's a language barrier, and that's something that needs to be overcome. Sympathetic use of terminology and finding a common ground for communication that is transformative, encouraging, and inspiring is really important. To gain the trust of staff, it's important that dialogue is open, collaboration is sought, and a clear vision and progress is communicated from the exec. Digital change should not be feared, but it will crop up across an organization. And that is where trust and confidence comes in. It's the exec's job to take the lead and inspire the staff. Building trust demands security and reliability. Managing business risks so that technology can deliver scalable repeatability will help a resilient business core, and it should be a symbiotic relationship. Once trust is established, then accelerate growth and scale up transformation by setting achievable targets. For example, when we delivered our onboarding solution into production after 6 months, we used this for our existing business model first, ahead of the digital bank launch. Small gamble was taken, beneficial impact was for the existing business was observed, trust was increased, and we iterated. So to wrap up, let's finally look at how we quantify the success of our efforts and how you continue the journey. The truth is, it may not always be obvious from the bottom line, especially at the start if taken in isolation. Continued investment and reinvestment should never be underestimated when looking at long-term digital growth. But the share prices of most technology-focused digital players should give an indication that the risks are worth taking. And the warning lessons from the blockbusters of this world paint the alternative. The kind of transformations we are talking about today can be expensive if mismanaged, but they can also be done for a lot less than you might actually think, especially on an iterative basis. And if your business case is strong enough, incurred costs can be more than covered within a few years. Upfront costs will have a clear impact on shorter-term profitability as you invest in the new model. But as with efficiencies ramping up and your customer base either maintains or increases, the margins will likewise return and increase. Customer growth and market share would, I suggest, be a far more telling indication of progress and success for most organizations at this point, however, especially at the start and whilst recovering from all the additional investment costs. How you choose to set your KPIs will vary from business to business and ultimately comes down to what you perceive to be important to your business or market segment. Upshifts in externally published app store ratings, social media feedback and NPS scores, customer effect scores, and the like will give you a real indication if your efforts have been well received and worth it. Customer happiness will equal customer stickiness, and don't underestimate this. It can be a great indicator of longer-term stability and growth. Data and analytics will help to show conversion rate improvements, as well as speed up and improve decision-making on new product offerings. The number of manual touch points in operational processes, error rates, cost per transaction values will be quantifiable to assess as improving measurably, even against hopefully scaling volumes. Timelines for delivery of code to production and new services to market will measurably reduce, making the opportunities organization all the more responsive to demands and profitable opportunities. So the path we're on has a pretty clear direction. However, the future is still unwritten. There are huge and exciting opportunities waiting for those who embrace their digital transformation journeys, and I hope to see you succeeding along your chosen paths. Thank you for your time, and please enjoy the rest of your day.